Hi, welcome back to Christine's Home Affairs. In yesterday's video, I showed you how to create hexagons from circles or squares in any size that you like. So I showed you a few different techniques. In today's video, I'm going to show you what I've done with one of those hexagons. We're making another Christmas project today. It's going to be a placemat or a trivet, or you could even put them together and make table runners. This is it here, just two colours. We've got the green on the back coming around to the front and the red in the background. The cream, well, that was an afterthought. You'll find out why soon. And this is made using 6-inch hexagons. You could make this much bigger with bigger hexagons that I've shown you how to draft. And you could also make really small ones to make mug rugs or coasters as well. I'm leaving my mistakes in this, so you'll see what I've done wrong, but it turned out in the end. Let's go make this together. All right, I have a couple of pieces of fabric and my 6-inch hexagon template that I've already created. And I have scraps of fusible fleece. I use Parlan or Palin, so I'm going to use those. Hopefully they're the right size. Perfect. And we can get started. We need enough fabric to make 6 hexagons of each colour, and then we need enough stabiliser to make 6 hexagons. We're only going to stabilise one side. And of course you need a hexagon shape. I'm using a 6-inch hexagon, so I need 6 pieces of fabric of each colour. If you already have a hexagon template, that's fantastic. If you don't, then go and watch the video I put up yesterday that will show you how to do different size hexagons, and you can make this in whatever size you like. Draw the shape onto your stabiliser, and if you have one of these rotating cutting mats, it makes the job a lot quicker. So you can cut out your shape. When I cut these out, I'm cutting on the inside of the line because I've used a thick marker to mark these lines. So I'm cutting out so that it removes that thick marking. And you can just rotate your mat around like this without moving your fabric, and it's not going to distort your shape. All right, now that I have my 6 pieces of stabiliser cut out, I can iron that to the wrong side of my fabric. I'll place all my hexagons along the fabric, and I'm going to leave a gap of at least 1/2 inch in between each one. I want to have 1/4 inch seam allowance, so if I leave 1/2 inch, that will give me plenty of room for my seam allowance for turning through. And you want to make sure that you've got enough seam allowance at the points as well. So I will go and iron the stabiliser to this piece of fabric, and then we'll be ready to cut it out. Once you've fused all of your stabiliser to the wrong side of your fabric, grab the other one, lay that out nice and flat with the right side or the printed side faced up. We'll place this one with the printed side faced down, and just line up those layers of fabric evenly so that you have enough of the contrast colour underneath. And then all we need to do is divide them up so that you've got at least 1/4 inch seam allowance on each side. And I'll just trim off this long strip because that might be handy in another project one day. Now that we have our fabric layers all cut out, we don't need to trim it back to the right size because we can do that after we've sewn it. So just pop a pin in the centre of each segment. And what we're going to do with each of these pieces now is sew all the way around right on the very edge of the stabilizer. On one side only, we're going to leave an opening, just a small opening there. Start with back stitch here, go all the way around until you get back to here, back stitch there as well. And we'll do that with all of these. So once again, we'll just back stitch here, sew up to the point, keep your needle down, turn your work around and continue on. I've reduced my stitch length to 2.8. And when you get back to the side that you started at, just stitch forward a few more stitches, leaving enough room for an opening, back stitch, and that's one hexagon done. 5 to go. All right, we have our hexagons all sewn together, and before we can turn these the right way out, we need to trim it to size. So what we're going to do is cut 1/4 inch away from the edge of the stabilizer. So that means I'll line up the 1/4 inch line on my ruler, and that will be lined up against the white edge of my stabilizer, and I'll just cut the fabric like that. So we'll do that all the way around. If you don't have a rotary cutter and ruler, then just mark in the 1/4 inch or 1 centimetre if you prefer that as your seam allowance along each of your hexagon sides, and then you can scissor cut that. But this is quicker. It's even quicker if you've got a rotating cutting mat, and then you can just go and cut off the sides on a few pieces at once, and then just rotate your mat. I don't use this very often, but it's very handy when I do. No, I've accidentally cut my shape wrong. Oh, that was so silly. This is what happens when you lose concentration. I've cut the seam allowance out on a couple of sides, completely lost the plot, and I've gone and cut out right next to the stabilizer. If you've got enough fabric, then you'll cut out another piece. So I do recommend having extra fabric in the colours that you're using so that you can make another piece if you need to. Now, if you don't have enough fabric, it's not the end of the world. If you just continue to trim off the rest of the fabric on the side of your hexagon, you can still go ahead and make this project in exactly the same way. You just won't have the benefit of less bulky seams. So if this is what you've done by accident, then you'll just need to restitch it with your 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way around, because obviously I've gone and cut the stitching lines as well. So you just need to restitch it and use it as is. Fortunately, I had just enough fabric to make one more hexagon, so I can proceed ahead as normal. Now, the other thing you want to do once you've cut everything to size is at the points, just trim the corners off. Don't cut through any stitching lines though. And once you've done that, we'll be ready to turn everything the right way out. All right, so we've cut our 6 pieces up. They're all trimmed back as well. And this one here that was no good, I've gone and restitched it and trimmed off the points. I don't want to waste this, so I'll just make something else with it. What we can do now is find your opening and turn this the right way out, and we'll do this for all of our pieces. And poke your corners out so that they sit with a nice point. Once you've turned all of these the right way, poked out your corners, take it to the iron and give it a really good press. And just make sure you fold the openings closed on the side as well. All right, so we have our hexagons all turned the right way out and nicely pressed. Now this one here is the one that I've cut incorrectly, so I've turned it the right way out, folded the edges over, ironed it, and all I'm going to do is turn this into a mug rug. So it's just going to go to the machine and be top stitched all the way around. So that's a great way of salvaging a piece of fabric that was cut to the wrong size. So you can go and make up another 5 of these and have matching mug rugs if you wanted to at your Christmas table. And remember that one that I had to cut extra? Well, I didn't have quite enough fabric, so this project's not going too well for me, but I have a fix. It's not a perfect fix. I've just got a red marker here. I'm just going to colour in the fabric on the edge there. I'll find another matching red later. I'll hide the green as well. We'll just camouflage that a little bit. I trust you guys. Don't go and tell the rest of the world. Anyway, I'm going to forge ahead with this project no matter what. Once you've turned all of your fabric pieces the right way out and given it a really good press, find the opening and we're going to sit that down to the right of us. It really doesn't matter which way it goes. It's just a reference point for you so that you can have all the openings in the same direction. With the opening just here, I'm going to mark a line from this corner down to this corner, bypassing one point. Now you want to also decide whether you want to have your red fabric as your feature or whether you want to have your green as the main part of this. I want mainly red showing at the top, so I'll mark a line from one point to the next. And it's very difficult to see. I haven't been able to find a marker that will show you a really nice clear outline. We've got our opening on this side. I've marked a line straight down here. From this line, I'm going to mark another line going up, forming the shape of a V. You'll do that for all of your pieces. And once again, I'll find the opening and have the opening on the same side each time. Okay, with all of those done, I can start putting this together. So take 2 pieces. I've got the straight line along here and the straight line along here. I'm going to place those with the green sides facing. And I'll take that to the machine and sew straight down that line. And once we've sewn those 2 pieces, you'll have a little flap at the top here with that stitched together along the side. I might as well top stitch this one while I'm here. Okay, with these 2 lined up, we're just going to sew straight down that line that we've marked. Alright, so the first pair have been sewn together. Fold out this flap and you can see how this is going to start to look. So I'm pleased I've chosen the green to pop out rather than the red. Fold that flap out of the way, take your next piece, and I've got the V coming down here and across here. So I want the one on this side to match up with the one on this side. So I've got this first one that I've sewn already, this one here, I've put that in place. I can take this to the machine and sew that in place as well, or I can take my next piece and place that on the other V with this V to the left. So it's perfectly acceptable to do these separately if you think it's going to be confusing, but you're doing the same thing every single time. So rotate that around. The V on the right will match up with the V on the left, and you just line up those points at the top and keep on going until you've done them all. And when you've got all 6 pieces attached, bring the 2 final ends together, line up those points. Once again, you've got the straight edge along here, straight edge underneath. And now we can take this back to the machine and sew all of these edges together. So this one's already been sewn. I'll go to the next one, fold all the other fabric out of the way, back stitch at the top and the bottom, then get the next one. As you do the next one, you'll just fold the other one out of the way and repeat. Fold that one out of the way, find the next one, nearly finished. We've got 2 more to go. And as you get to the bottom corner, just make sure that all that bulky fabric is out of the way. And we have 1 more. Okay, once you've sewn up all of those pieces, this is how it's going to look. On the underneath, you've just got the plain green fabric, and then these flaps on the top will have the green peeking through. So we now need to go and iron this and have it sitting nice and flat. I'll go and do that now. All right, so now that these little leaves have been ironed flat, all we need to do is go along and top stitch along the edge of every single one of them, and that will close up the openings that we've left on the side. So we'll stitch along here, down there, and back into the center, and then just keep on going all the way around. Once you've done that, you can go and top stitch around to the outside edge, and then it'll be finished. I actually have a plan for this. I'm going to start from the center and work my way out. Once I get to the outer edge, I can turn my work and come back into the center. And if you like, you can also increase your stitch length here so that the job goes a lot quicker. We don't need to have a small stitch length. And then when you've gone back into the center, raise your foot and go on to the next leaf. You'll notice I haven't done the top stitching. So as far as this mat goes, the job is finished once you've done your top stitching all the way around. I'm going to add some trim to this to hide that mistake that I had made. And we also have this little mug rug or coaster that we made earlier from that piece that I had cut the wrong size. So what I'm going to do here to fix this is put some trim on the edge. So I think that'll be nice. It adds a little bit of class to it as well, and that will look really nice around the outside edge. What I'll do is start somewhere along one edge here and start stitching this braid in place Keep on going until I get to the other end. And when I get to the beginning again, I'm just going to fold the end under and stitch that directly over the top. So I'll show you that when we get to the machine. A nice cheat's way of stopping this from fraying is just to get a little piece of double-sided tape and put that to the wrong side. Take the paper off and place that on the very edge of your fabric, and that'll just sit there whilst you sew everything up. It helps prevent that fraying of the braid at the end. If you have a zigzag machine, you can just do a zigzag straight across. I don't. This machine only does a straight stitch, so I'll stitch straight down the centre. When I get to the corner, I'll go back a couple of stitches, raise my foot, turn the braid, and then just start stitching again. So I'm coming up to the end here. What I'm going to do is cut this off with enough room to fold it under. And I'll hold that in place, and I'll go over that a couple of times. Backstitch, and that's it. So there we go. Personally, I would have preferred to have just top stitched this, but if you make silly mistakes like I do and end up having your selvages shown, this is how to hide any flaws. I know where the selvage is, I can see it, but at a glance, nobody else will notice it. Although I did a couple of silly things making this project, I think everything turned out the way it was supposed to. So the piece of fabric that I cut out the wrong size when I accidentally trimmed off the seam allowance, that became a coaster or a mug rug. So that was a good little save. And then this one here, even though I stupidly had too much of the selvage on the extra fabric piece that I had to cut after I'd cut this one wrong, I managed to salvage that, so I'm pretty happy about that. I actually don't mind the braid around the edge. It frames it really nicely. It's not my thing. I like things to be a little bit more simple, but it's turned out quite nice. I'm pretty pleased with it. What do you think? Better with the braid or without? 6 hexagons, whatever size you like. Make it in any size that you like. I've actually seen this done as a table runner with 3 or 4 pieces joined together. So what you could do is make a few of these sets, draw the line down the center here, and then join this section here end to end, and you can make a table runner to go right across your table at Christmas time. You don't even have to make these in Christmas fabric. I've got some fabric with maple leaves on it that a viewer had sent me some time ago, and I'd made the fabric boa. I think I'll make a couple of placemats or trivets using that fabric as well. This is a really quick project. So for all of those people in our Facebook group that like to have these things made up as soon as I've released a video, when I wake up in the morning, I expect to see a heap of these on our page. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I shall catch you next time. Bye for now.